Cue the music. This is a momentous day.
Indeed.
We want to welcome everybody to the very first episode of Good Men Trying.
Absolutely. Our very first official episode of Good Men Trying, forgetting some of the other things we've done.
And in particular today, which is a very special day, because today's Sunday. And
Sunday's our day.
What do we do every Sunday?
Sunday is the day for basketball.
It is how we met.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
3 years ago?
Probably
Question
almost
mark?
4 now.
Probably almost 4. It was definitely right after COVID.
I sold my business just over 4 years ago and got that lifetime membership like basically the next week and started playing basketball there on Sundays.
I did not know that, actually.
Because I had no time before. So the first thing I wanted to do, I knew I was going to get fat, right? Everyone's like, oh, as soon as you stop, you're going to get fat. So got that membership. Kate wanted it too. And Alex was just getting to the age where going to that kids zone area was like really fun. So we got that membership. I walked in day one when we were touring it. And we knew they had the summer camps, which was huge.
And tell us what you were doing that you sold.
Oh, I had a moving company.
Okay.
American Eagle Relocation Services. Cody used it.
Okay. American Eagle.
American Eagle. It was
Shout out
very
to
patriotic.
1994.
I worked there in college. I did. I worked there for 3 weeks.
Were you one of the models that was half naked?
Hell no.
Okay.
No.
Just curious.
I was in college. I was playing music. And I needed money.
Yes.
We had an inn, and they wanted us to come in late and restock. And so should have been easy. Unfortunately, it was like a 30-minute drive, and that part of my life is just a big throwaway, just in general from a decision-making standpoint. So didn't make it very often. It lasted about 3 weeks and ran its course. But yeah, I had this moving company. We did that for 8 years. I was able to sell it and make some money, which was really cool. And at the end of that, I knew I needed to do something and wanted to, right? I hadn't played basketball in forever. That's so fun and feels good to just hang out and be around people. But yeah, that's how we met, man. It was the Iranian crew first.
We've gone through a handful of evolutions
Yes.
Of the basketball run. I guess for context, are we going to say where we live? We never talked about that.
In
we
Plano?
Okay, well, there it is.
there
We live in the North Dallas area.
Yeah, we can cut that.
And we have gone to the same Lifetime Fitness, well, at least I have, since my kids were born.
Oh, wow, that long.
That long, yeah.
Wow. That's why you know everybody.
That's why, exactly. And so, but after COVID, basketball runs, well, after life was reopened post-COVID, the runs were dead.
Yeah.
Most importantly, though, there was no way to get out that internal masculine frustration just of life. And so it took, probably by the time that I met you, it took 2 years to organize the group that we now play with every Sunday religiously.
It changed a lot when they shut the second court down.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And that means absolutely nothing to some of the females that may be listening to us, but to us, that was the resurgence of pickleball that has impacted basketball runs everywhere.
East courts.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it makes sense because we're loud and we cuss and, it's an aggressive thing. And then the pickleball people come in and they're quiet. And,
definitely not as loud.
And they're willing to spend the extra money to reserve the courts.
And they come in with matching outfits.
And it's every age group.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So that made sense.
Yeah.
But we play with, the majority of us actually are dads. I think only a handful of us don't have kids and are not married, although they're probably actively going. So we've curated this group of individuals.
Good age range.
Good age range, good skill level. Actually, probably upper echelon skill level. I wouldn't say that there's a low bar.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
We've had a handful of people come and join the runs.
Yeah.
But it's stayed the test of time, and by that I mean we have become a kind of a family. And Sunday has become a bit of a necessary outlet for many of us, which, as we kind of think about why this matters in the evolution of Good Men Trying, is because that is where we started having these random deep conversations.
Oh, yeah.
I would ask you questions, and then basketball would just go further and further into the morning, and then we would go get lunch, and then a little bit after that, and then...
Well, so from my perspective,
Okay.
I noticed that you knew everything about everyone.
Yeah.
Like, we'd be talking and be like, oh, what's that guy's name? And you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. He's a dentist, and he's married with 7 children. They got married in 2014. It was real.
It's very accurate.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
accurate.
And so I remember asking you one time, I was like, what, do you profile everybody you meet? And you were like, 100%. I was a therapist.
Yeah.
So you'd been kind of, I don't know if you can help it or if it's just second nature at this point, but you've been kind of building little profiles of everybody. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. Tell me what you know about every person here.
And it was because, selfishly, there's 2 reasons. One, I wanted to keep that cohort of men alive because, again, coming out of COVID, what I noticed most is that I wanted more male-to-male interaction.
Yeah.
And it was hard to find. And so developing a group that was consistent filled my need.
Sure.
And then I started to learn it was a similar need from others who would come in and out. And it really became like a necessity in our week-to-week experience. So then I was like, well, let me learn a little bit more about who and how and yada, yada, yada. I don't think I actually intentionally started learning people's names until I wanted to form the group chat and then kind of make this thing more regular. And then, like you had mentioned, we had different groups of people moving in and out.
I'm so happy you did the group chat, dude. Nobody
wanted to do the group chat.
You fell on the grenade.
I didn't want to do the group chat. But
you said it like 3 or 4 times to the room. Someone should do a group chat.
and no one was taking accountability. It's like, okay. And that's kind of where, for me, the light started to shift. Now, during that time, and I love your shirt, by the way.
Oh, we're going to talk about this.
We're definitely going to talk about it. But during that time, I started writing my book.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, the book is called Elevate Fatherhood, Measuring What Matters Most. And in it, I kind of go through a concept that as men, as athletes, as professionals, we're always judged on a routine basis. You have athletic trainers help you with your meal prep. You have strength and conditioning coaches at the gym. You've got people helping with recovery. At work, you've got KPIs you have to meet. But there was never a standard when it came to fatherhood.
Yeah.
And so the book is about introducing a 4-part standard to be able to do that. So I was doing research and I was seeing if that research was applicable in real life. So a lot of it, to your point, was like my test cases as I would ask questions. And
so interesting.
And probe. And a lot of things were really interesting. And that kind of snowballed into this life of we all get together, we all don't meet. The child center that's always there because a lot of us have kids. And then as people actually have grown, they've now had kids themselves with their spouses, and all of a sudden it's become like this staple.
I know we go to like brunch together sometimes.
We go to brunch together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learn a little bit more about each other.
People are meeting up at different runs.
Yep.
Kel comes to Alex's basketball games.
Yeah, and when I coached yesterday, he was there.
Yeah.
So and I think this was the point, could you take a group of men that have nothing in common except basketball and turn this into a community that matters, that communicates outside of basketball, that could do something outside the gym?
Right.
And then that is what helped us kind of platform this idea.
Yeah, I think we were both so commonly interested in that experiment.
Do you remember what you said? I asked you a question. I said, where do you have deep conversations?
Yeah. I was like, all the time, everywhere.
One, that moved me.
Yeah.
2, I was extremely jealous. And 3, I was very angry that you could just, in your Rolodex, not that Rolodexes exist anymore, but in your contact in your phone, you could just fire off questions and get responses, and they would be equally as thoughtful and intentional.
Yeah.
And, I had to wait till Sunday to do that. So you said, well, this is kind of a part of my network. And I was like, shit, let me get that going. And so then over time, again, here we are. So all of this about Good Men Trying is about intentional conversations, really reflective thinking.
Yeah. We came by it really earnestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One Sunday at a time to this point.
One eye-opening question at a time.
Yeah.
A variety of different characters providing their input.
Yeah.
And here we are to bring our ideas to everybody else.
So your brand, Elevate Fatherhood, talk just a little bit more about like, what are the goals there? Kind of where do you see that going? What does that mean to you long term, and what do you want to use it as a vehicle for?
Great question. I'll start with a little bit of story. So my dad is going to turn 89 this year, which is only important in the context in his life. He's thinking about legacy. He started thinking about how he was going to impact his grandkids and his children about 10 years ago. So I've been in this mindset of what is my purpose? What is my legacy? And what you do for work, providing for your family, is almost never your actual legacy. And so while I was writing, while I was thinking, and for those of you who don't know, I have naturally born triplets. So I have 3 girls at home. They're all 9.
Yep.
And they consume me in the most
It's adorable.
best of ways.
Yes, they're fully in charge of you.
Yeah. And I was thinking after one of our conversations, after one of our Sunday runs, and I wanted to say what was going to be the most impactful thing I could leave to them. The conclusion I came to, the vision that I had, if you will, they are grown, they are teaching their kids. And the vision I had was my daughter talking to their kids about this amazing guy that raised them. And then their kids are passing the same story about how they came to be and the things that were meaningful to them, how they make choices because someone cared enough to invest.
Yeah.
And
That's real legacy.
that's real legacy. And in order to do that, I needed a community. It couldn't just be me by myself, and it couldn't just be me and the handful of guys that I met. It needed to be more people. So if I wanted my daughters to marry someone like me, I needed to invest the time and to teach other men how to be good fathers, how to pour in, find them wherever they are, and then encourage them and create this large community in order to do what ultimately I want to do. So my lasting gift to the world, my legacy, is definitely my kids, but it's also while I'm alive and have all the opportunity, is to spend the majority of my time working with other guys, helping them think differently and helping them evolve to the best version of them that they could be.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Marland is a doer. And so every idea is actualized and integrated into the plan.
Yes.
There's a plan.
There is a plan.
Yes. And it accepts new information all the time.
Yes, it does.
Yes. But that's one of my favorite things about you. And it's a lot of the things we'll do here, a lot of the bits and what we're going to talk about. These are things that we genuinely just talk about, right? None of this is like prescribed, or we're not getting outside of our lane here. It's just that we had enough of these conversations and included enough people into these conversations with us that someone was like, you guys should talk about this.
One more foundational story and a little bit more about my dad. So I really want to honor my dad in some type of documentary because I've seen different versions of my dad throughout my life. But first, a little story. So I work for a company that's based out of Illinois. I travel to Illinois and I am confronted with not knowing there was one of my family members happened to work in the same company. So they want to meet up for dinner. And they want to reintroduce me to my half brother that I have not known since I was a baby.
Okay.
So let's
plot
back
twist.
Up. Yeah, plot twist. So my dad, who's 89, was married twice. His first 2 kids, he had very young. And then he ended up meeting my mom basically around my age, and then ended up having the 4 boys basically over the next 10 years. My mom was really concerned about how my dad's side of the family, how the guys there just existed.
In what way?
They they were free with their seed.
So Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Exactly. And that idea was cemented when we went to a funeral in the early 2000s and ended up running into an uncle that no one knew existed by another woman that my grandfather had impregnated. So she had like a legitimate fear. So to accept that fear, she basically held us from that side of the family. Okay. So my parents lost a child early in life, which is the last time my dad's side of the family was really invested in our immediate family. So after that loss, there was a rift through the family. So there was no, like I have never met, except twice now in recent memory, my two older half-brothers. So I run into my half-brother, and he's using this time to emote all of the things all of the legitimate stuff he has to get off his chest about my father.
Oh, he's like just unloading.
He's just unloading. And for the first time, I'm confronted with the idea that the dad that I knew actually had two very different realities in the world. The reality that I experienced, and then a more, at the time, I would say, bitter version, because it wasn't the dad that they now saw with me. And as I was growing up, I saw my dad be a different version to surrogate men and families.
Different plot lines.
Yeah. And so I was always told he's this incredible individual, which 100% he is, but I saw different.
Like,
yeah.
He's a villain.
And so I'm like, well, what do you mean? And my older brother made this statement: we didn't have the same dad. And that stuck and lingered for years when I started writing, when I started really thinking about that, because now the idea is, and with everyone who has kids normally, that is one after the other.
Right.
You are correct. The parent you are does not raise the next child. But what if there was an intention behind, a strategy behind how you raised your kids? Could we mitigate that to a degree?
100%.
I agree with, so that's,
most of us do not do anything intentionally. It's just sheer inertia.
Yeah.
So
that, thinking about all of that and using my dad as just a really thoughtful individual who had to go through different struggles with his kids and had to live life because of that and had to evolve, impacted on me. And so I want to honor him also in like being able to talk about and be better and being able to think deeply, because I was essentially raised by what most people would consider their grandfather. So my light of thinking is definitely older, and my interest in things like that are older than where my current biological age sits.
I want to steer you back a little bit towards where we grew up, or where you grew up. Your dad had jobs that took you all around the world. Super cool. You got a really fun wealth of experience, but you landed as a young man here in Texas, North Texas, and had to get established, had to get a group of friends. And you've told me a little bit about this group of friends, but I know there's some names, there's some stories, but I do want, talk to me about your group of friends.
Yeah. So living in North Texas in the 90s meant that there was
what a vibe. What a vibe.
Very different from your Atlanta journey. Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of brothers around, or sisters for that matter. So there were four of us, four other people besides myself, so it made five, that we met in ninth grade. At least I met them in ninth grade, and we stayed friends until today.
Names or no names?
We call ourselves the Fab Five.
Fab Five. Okay, we got a group name.
We have a group name.
Group identity.
Yes, a group identity, and we have done a lot of growth together. But also, we also have seen each other in very compromising positions, just emotionally and all of that, and having to grow, and that kind of relationship, particularly with someone you met so young, like how do you, and maybe here's a question that you can help unpack. How do you become the person you are today with people who've seen you grow up from young to a degree? You almost revert back to who you were as a kid and don't have space to be who you are now. And so that, even as within our group, we talk about a lot and try to work through, because we are not the same individuals by any stretch who we were when we first met.
Yeah, I think you move through life and you get upgrades, like almost like software updates. Right, exactly. And you get them at different times for different reasons, but not all of them come at the same time, age-wise or same time career-wise. There are individual factors that, fine-tune these software updates. And it can be hard for friends, especially your friends who maybe don't have everything going the best for them, or it seems like maybe their life is a little harder than yours for whatever reason. It can be hard for them to kind of change with you. And you see this in relationships too, right? Where one member of the relationship, their career takes off or they find a passion and the other's just not able to adapt. It's the same in friendships. The interesting thing is so much of it is a reflection on yourself, seemingly. Like, can I let this person grow and be who they are? Or does that threaten who I am? Is so much of my identity and maybe my validation or my self-worth tied up in this friendship group, that if so-and-so is changing and wow, they got a nice car, well, maybe I'll rib them now about getting that nice car, or oh wow, you're gonna get married. You're gonna get married. Why would you get married, dude? Why would you give up all of this? Why are you leaving me, right, to do that? What's so great about that? So it can be tough, I think, for friends to grow, but we're gonna talk about this a million times. Communication is key, right? Communication is key. Let's keep talking to each other. Let's ask each other, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Or say more about that. These are so powerful. These questions are so powerful when we're establishing and maintaining relationships. I had a lot of friends that we kind of just grew apart. Some of it was me, some of it was them. I definitely had friends I lost because I was being a punk ass, right? I
just heard Dave Chappelle in the back of my ear.
Man, and I do think there have been friends that I've lost along the way because they weren't where I was, and we couldn't find esteem in each other's company anymore. It got negative and maybe even subtractive. I don't know a better way to say that. When I was with them, I didn't leave feeling energized necessarily anymore. I left feeling jealous or guilty or any number of feelings. And as you get older, you start to keep track of that stuff a little bit more. I think when you're younger, everything is, like we said earlier, it's just inertia, and you can stay that way for a long time. But the interesting thing is you do grow up, and if you start paying attention, if you are trying to be more intentional about your life, you can see when you leave a place, when you're done experiencing something and you're kind of unpacking it, you can start to see patterns or start to note feelings. And for me, one of those things with friendship has always been when I leave and I'm reflecting on my time together, how did I feel? Did I feel lit up and alive? Oh my, that was so, I cannot wait to do that again. Those are the relationships I'm going to invest in. If I leave feeling less than or guilty or any negative emotion, really angry, then I'm less likely to invest in that. And I think that's just a lesson you learn. But to get back to your point, we do kind of grow out of these friendships, and I do wonder, for you specifically, do you have any stories where you guys who were kind of forged in the same fire, you go off into the world and the world treats you differently, does different things for you? Did that create friction within your friend group?
Oh yeah. Yes. There's a couple of things that you said that resonated well, but I think the high level theme is friendships can end. I think the question before that is, when should the friendship end? So I'll tell a story. One of the Fab Five members expressed to us late, and this is we've known each other since '96, so this would have been maybe 3-4 years ago, that we didn't know him enough. And what he meant
Say more about that.
What he meant by that was we didn't know his fears, his academic fears, his personal fears, how people viewed. Let me back up. As a black person in the 90s, in an area where academia was everything, you didn't have to just be smart. You couldn't just be the top of your class. You had to have extracurricular, top of the line notches on your belt to be considered the best.
Okay.
So athletics were not just pushed, academics were even more important. And then those other categories like singing in your church choir or public speaking,
extracurriculars,
or Boy Scouts, or you needed 3 to 4 to 5 things to stack up just to feel like you were competitive with your other classmates. I didn't realize that this guy that I've known for the better part of 20 plus years felt less than. And where he ended up going to school was a result of him choosing that place so that he could feel, quote, normal.
He felt less than within the group. He's telling you this after the fact.
Yes, and it hasn't come up for years.
And is a little upset that you didn't notice, maybe.
See, the thing is, I don't think he's as upset with us as he's just upset that he wasn't seen. I think that's what he's upset about.
Sure.
He wanted to be seen.
You guys are my people.
And we should have seen that.
Right.
So we failed. But how, I feel like I'm defending myself, but how do we fail when we don't know?
Because you could say it.
Right. But also, I still view him as the 14, 15-year-old in the locker room cracking jokes and, slapping the back of his head when he got a new haircut. So you're right. I, as an individual, I haven't evolved my perspective, and it also requires communication and tension. And so naturally, he pulls away. There's no fault to that. But we stay connected because we have, and it's the once, and you may have a friend like this, where you guys meet each other once a year, probably around the holidays. It's a quick catch up. You say you're going to talk more. It ultimately fails after Q1. You just defer to Q4 again when you're coming back in town for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
For sure.
So should you keep relationships like that on?
Do you feel good when you're with that person?
Yeah, but it's also work because you have to then catch up 365 days worth of information in
so fun though
2 to 4 hours, which is great.
Yeah.
Only to not talk to that person again for another year. Not that it's bad, but if I'm going to invest time into relationships, and now if I have priorities, all right, we're going to have a get together, or I got these other guys that I know what I'm going to get out of it. Like I know, like you were saying, I know I'm going to feel good. How do you shift your time?
So I grew up in a really interesting place.
I know. Yes. Let's talk about that.
We'll talk about it a little bit. One of my best friends growing up is also in this room with us, Cody.
Oh yeah. There's 2 other people here, just so you guys know.
Yeah. We got Evan and Cody here representing. Cody's also representing Loganville, Georgia, or Monroe, or between. Between. There was a town called Between, so named because it was between 2 other cities.
Oh my goodness.
Cody and I kind of had this relationship for a while where he was off in New York at film school, and we saw each other, I don't know, once every 2 years, maybe even 3-4 year gaps where we didn't see each other. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, we saw each other, I would say, all through high school, obviously, and then when I went off to college, almost not at all. So
yeah.
I was there for 3 years, and then another year.
Yep.
And then another 3 years gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really on and off, like a year on, and then 3 years off, a year on.
But when we would see each other, it would be for like 2 straight weeks.
Okay.
Or more.
Yeah.
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 Maybe longer than that. And I think, you said something earlier about like what you invest in. You keep coming back to that point, like you invest in people. I actually had a question about that. What do you do when, it's a lifelong family member or friend? Like you have friends that go back to a long time back, and I'm sure it doesn't always feel good. Like their life can, and whatever, that you are at different places. How do you manage that? They don't always energize you. Do you only invest in like the fun factor? Is it just like I only have so much time and I got to do what feels good for me? Or are there ones that you willingly choose to?
To me, I think it's how you esteem yourself, right? Like, who are you? What are the pillars of you that you're servicing in these friendships? For me, loyalty is something that I have always had and love and esteem myself on. So acts of service to my friends are huge. And so if I have a friend who's down and they're not taking advantage of me, right, then I'm all in to do those acts of service and support. I esteem myself off that support.
So it's not like you don't have limits, but you're more willing, like if it's somebody who's kind of a new friend you made recently, you might not give them as much benefit of the doubt. The circle's going to be tighter.
Correct.
But somebody who has a better track record, hey, they're down right now, but I know that they'll work with me and they're not taking advantage of me. So the circle, when you get older, you're a little more discerning, a little tighter. Okay.
Yeah, I think I invest pretty heavily in the people I invest in. And it takes a minute for me to get to that spot. Like, I've never not met a person that I didn't like. I mean, it's very rare I meet somebody that I don't like, but it is rare to get into my kind of inner circle, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take a lot of reps. And then I'm kind of, as we hang out, like I love hanging out with people.
I think you make friends very easily.
I make friends very easily, but I wouldn't say best friends very easily.
Well, and the other thing, just sitting there as a listener, I'm over here listening too, and not everybody knows you like I know you, and I think they could misinterpret what you said earlier about, it's almost like, oh, I'm just chasing what feels good, almost, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I know that's not true.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that. Like, you have plenty of friends that you help them when they're down, so it's not just walk away feeling good. It's more about the track record, and also are they willing to put in that effort
and like
themselves.
Isn't it great to help a friend when they're down? Like that's the best feeling, to help a friend when
for sure.
Or a family member or whatever.
Cody made a point, and the point is, in the storyline, you guys fell out of contact for years, spent intense time together, and then fell out of contact again, and that seems to be a very routine pattern for many men.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you prioritize old relationships versus the new ones that are really giving you that satisfaction, that encouragement, things that you mentioned before?
Do you schedule stuff with your friends? Or are you more of like a drop-by hanger-outer?
Yeah, black people don't schedule.
All I heard from that was that Marland was jealous, and he was like, how do I replace your older friends? That's what I heard.
That is a very competitive standpoint, but the only meeting invites or schedules you've scheduled things. Mm-hmm. The rest of it is just like a vibe. Hey, are we meeting? And we never know until some person inevitably says they're coming, but they just got into the shower at home, and it's gonna be another 30 minutes. So we don't.
Do you like a holiday, or do you like to eventize things so that when it finally arrives, it's more fun?
Yes.
I do too. And some of this is a function of just having kids and jobs and whatnot. But we pretty much have to schedule our whole thing. And sometimes we're scheduling like a month out these weekends.
Getting on your social calendar is extremely difficult.
It's stupid. But in that is very intentional time set aside for so-and-so who's coming in from out of town.
I see.
And that is how we honor those friendships. And it could be Kate's person that is coming. Kate is my wife. She has a lot of friends. And some of those will travel considerable distances just to hang out for a weekend or a day or whatever. And so we have to kind of block that time in order to honor those friendships. I don't know if I've ever really been in a situation where it's like, oh, my old friend's coming, but my new friend asked me to, go to dinner or whatever, where that might be a problem. I mean, Cody, you've got a lot of social stuff going on too. You were always doing lunch and dinner with people. Do you have that problem?
Yeah, actually, I do. I understand where Marland's coming from on that. I tend to try to mix the groups. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not.
Marland's not a mixer.
And
he got burned.
Yeah, that can burn you, but I just keep doing it. I don't know. It's like insanity, keep trying the same thing and expecting different results. But I don't think you're wrong to set aside that time and plan it out. I think that's actually probably smarter. I should do that. I don't know. I'm taking
It works for us.
I'm getting the good men trying advice over here too, live.
Can we talk about the mixing of friend groups? Because I think this is the crux of a lot of our problems.
Kate won't mix.
I now have learned never to mix friend groups.
I'm with you, but let's hear it.
Okay, so you're having a function, my wife's birthday party. We had different friend groups come, and Cal came, who's from our basketball run, and his girlfriend, and they didn't know anybody there, at least that I thought.
Sure.
Then my brother and sister-in-law, they wouldn't have known anybody there. And then the boyfriends and husbands of my wife's girlfriends for sure wouldn't have known any of us.
Mm-hmm.
So now, as an event planner, now you have to make sure that all these different groups can intermingle, which means you're not really able to relax, to enjoy the company.
No, it's like a wedding.
It absolutely is. So, which means church friends will definitely never meet my athletic friends for language purposes alone. Like, that's just not. And the level of sexual jokes will probably make them uncomfortable. And then I'm gonna have to hear about how a bad Christian I am.
Bro, Warren would crush with your church friends, bro. Warren would crush with your church friends.
Yeah, that's because Warren is skating between salvation and hell. So but I mean, he's definitely gonna fall on the right side. But people like that are so few and far between where they could speak different languages. I'll give you a better example. If I have, all right, Cody, you're a tech person.
Sure. I'm a nerd. That's why I'm off camera.
Yeah. Cody, as a tech person, could not intermix with my non-technical thinking friends.
I don't know if that's true. Wow.
You would be fine because you are a unicorn. Most of them would not be fine.
I think what you're touching at is that, and a lot of people do this, and it's okay. Kate's like this, Brett's wife. That's why she doesn't do it. Everyone's different with different people, but I don't know. Brett and I are more like ourselves with everyone than I think. We just are ourselves in every situation, but you might have a little bit more decorum with certain friends, like you mentioned, and you might have less with it. You might be more open.
But so this is an interesting point, and I'm going to piggyback off that because Kate's like you. She grew up all over the world and moved a lot. And so she had to be 6 different girls by the time she was in college.
And she's great in corporate environments because of that.
100%. And she code switches all the time. So that code switching can get uncomfortable when all of these people are seeing you and expecting you to be funny maybe in a particular way.
She's got to wear too many faces.
Right. And it's tough. And
I mean, when I met Kate's family for the first time, I made a terrible impression. I don't know if Brett wants to tell the story, but it's really
We'll
funny.
save that one.
That's a good one for the pod.
We'll save that one.
Save that. It's got too many real names, but we could just say this very famous person.
Yes, exactly.
The only shift in that I would make is less uncomfortable but tiring.
Sure.
And
It's work.
Yeah, in this time frame of life where self-actualization is the objective, meaning to condense all these different versions of you into one and just be that normal person all the way throughout, means you're going to inevitably just cut off half of your social circle because half of them don't really know who you are and you wouldn't feel comfortable being your regular self with them anyway, which then means, now you know me as everything about me as me.
Yeah.
The quirky, the weird, the tech, the
business,
all of it. But I can't share all of those sides with all people because, one, my fear is I have to explain too much or I have to fit into what their version of me is going to be. That's step one. Then step two is now I have to judge and assess because of these different criteria whether I think you're intelligent enough to then mix with me in these spaces. Too much work. Versus just meeting people for one time. Or maybe it's just the basketball guys. If it's just the basketball guys and all I know you as is basketball and all I need you here for is a body to play on Sunday, then that's the sum total of our existence.
I think that's really common. What you were saying about male relationships, they pick a role.
Yeah.
This is my, we do this at the barbershop, we do this at the gym, whatever it is, and that's the role they fulfill, and they don't want it to spill into other things. and they kind of wild. That guy's a little wild when I bring him into this other situation. I don't want him around my wife and kids. He's great for this, going out drinking or something, but I don't want to do this with him around my kids. So I can understand. It's not just about you.
Yeah.
It's about the person and what they would be comfortable with, and you're trying to make sure your friends would have a good time too, right? So I can understand it not always being code switching. If that's what he means. It's a fair argument. But
Yeah.
So then let's press on that. Either you're the person having to code switch or deal with that issue, or you're the person everyone has to bend around. So, a quick survey. How many of the people in your friend group are the people that you can be yourself with versus you have to contort yourself into different persons? That's probably not your specific.
I was about to say.
You get to be normal, but
100%?
well, it's definitely not going to be on my side.
Sure.
I would probably even say like 50-50.
Yeah.
I would have to manage those relationships.
I think very similar for Kate. Very similar for Kate. And, but I mean, and again, it's like so much of this is like, what kind of personality do you have? And you are taking in a lot of data.
Yeah.
All the time, and ownership of that data all the time. And I let a lot just roll, baby. I'm here.
Well, it's similar with my wife. I think so. Both of us have gone through a period where this is living in our authentic self is what we want to do.
Sure.
Which means our families have to get on board. My way is you will know if I don't reach out. Like if I'm not contacting you, then you're definitely lower on the list.
Yeah.
Or if I'm just never responding, it's more than likely because I'm prioritizing other things. Which means I would prioritize the relationships with those who allow me to be more of myself.
Sure.
Which means other relationships, to your point, becomes work. Which means I will show up for you because we have longevity together, but that showing up has an expiration date.
Yeah.
There's an expectation that if I needed something, that it becomes reciprocal, and then then in your down whatever versions of you where you're needing help or coming, that is me wanting to because we have a long-standing relationship, or it's just momentary because it could be a week or two and then we can pick back up and then we can return to whatever the status quo basis normal is. So now my question is, let's say and think of Kate in this example. Is this one of the reasons why as men get older, their friend groups, their friends start to just disappear and they feel this weight of no one understands me, I feel lonely, I don't have anyone to talk to, and then find a way to blame everyone else except for maybe thinking inwardly about why they are that way?
Yeah, I mean,
that was a heavy question, so digest as needed.
Sure, yeah. I do think that's part of it. How it's crazy how men rely so heavily on their spouse. Just 100% of all of their emotional baggage. The only person who knows who they are when they're like feet kicked up on the couch with nothing going on a Saturday is their spouse. And that's gotta be tough. It's certainly not healthy. We're not solo creatures in that way. We're meant to be known by a group of people, and we're meant to know others in the group of people. But I do think the way life works now is working totally against us, right? Like it's so easy to be distracted on your phone, watching the TV, even the events we do now, like video games, they're solo a lot of the time, and you have to make a priority to do it with other people. I think about Kate though, like she is very similar to you in that way. I will say, I think that one of the things she liked about me in our relationship is that I pushed her in all of those directions. And I do, and sometimes uncomfortably so.
Of course.
Like, we need to leave here. I'm like, why? Because I don't know anybody. It's like, cool, then we'll just meet some people. We're going to have a good time. And she's moved in that direction. I'm a bit oblivious about a lot of things, and she's made me a little bit more aware of my presence in any given space. But this, you were telling me I don't know if you remember the statistics, but you were telling me some interesting statistics about who men do actually talk to or who they would actually call. That might be illuminating.
January 2025, the Pew Research Center, which U.S. based, surveyed north of 13,000 individuals and asked these series of questions. The question was, if there's a moving event where you needed feedback from someone, whether it's emotional, whether it's financial, whatever, but it's an intense situation, who do you go to? And they asked both men and women about split decision. About 74% of them said they'll talk to their spouse first. Now, my only double down on that is, how much do you reveal to your spouse? Particularly from the male side. I question that as an asterisk for me. I think people who are well adjusted, sure, but I think men naturally cascade information down to their spouse in the hopes that they are protecting them from something, but it's still a slow leak rather than a full communication. So then the second group of people that they felt comfortable, men specifically felt comfortable talking to, was their mother, at just north of like 53, 55%. The third person they felt comfortable talking to was their father at about 42, 43%. And then fourth was a family member, uncle, aunt, brother, sister, something. And the last person before you get to like friend, the last kind of few was a therapist, professional, and then some type of friend. So if you're going through this kind of as a paradigm for who we talk to, men most assuredly are going to talk to their moms. Mm-hmm. Men will talk to their spouses, like I said, in a variety of different ways. But friends and real other individuals are so far down on the list that, almost a third of men will consider other people before they bring
a friend in.
And I think that's problematic because a friend has no mixed interest in, besides your overall well-being. Mm-hmm. They're not skewed by physicality.
Sure.
All they're trying to do is, a true friend, I'll say that, is to help you get to where you want to go. And I think that, to your point, we're not single creatures. We're not supposed to be alone. Even in the context of a healthy marriage, you need additional viewpoints to create a strong connection, even if it's just for your family.
A thought came to me about the order. Do you think that's like a descending order of like judgment?
Interesting. I think mom and spouse make a lot of sense because as men, there's good research to suggest that most individuals don't reconnect with their dad in adulthood till the age of like 22 to 25. That's when you see your dad as someone that can actually help you.
Sure.
I
started calling my dad all the time around that age.
I think a lot of that is because of just the nature of your relationship in your teens, which based off of at least where I'm trying to go, I'm hoping to change. But for now, that's kind of standard. But I think your mom always has presented a level of softness to you as an individual where there's trust there. So I think that makes, and more than not, your mom is going to go to bat for you, even if you're wrong.
Sure.
I have two questions on that I want you to address. One is women sometimes have complained about men putting too much on them and wishing they were treating them better, not being so emotional to them, like they are nicer to their friends and guests and stuff, and they come home and they're ruder to them because they're being too honest and too open and sharing all their feelings, but putting that weight on the spouse. That's a common complaint. And how people should address that. And the second is it because they don't want to lose their friends? You say the judgment thing, but also, Brett mentioned like it could be a drain. They don't want to share that with somebody because they don't want to lose that friend. Whereas someone who's your mom, you're not going to lose, and someone who's your spouse is locked in. So, address
You go first.
how you do that, I guess.
I was having the same thought about people maybe feeling judged by their friends for their problems and not wanting to be a drain on those friends. Not everyone is able to like cross-pollinate the friendship family barrier. I think if you are able to do that, then you probably put a lot more stock and trust in your like chosen family. But if you're not, you might have friends for like social reasons, or I know a lot of people whose most common hang is purely based on their kids. So maybe those other parents aren't like actually your people, but they're close enough that you enjoy their company, but you would not under any circumstances divulge like deep personal information to those people because you're kind of hanging out at soccer games and after practices and at the park and stuff. And then, for me, there's people that I don't see ever that I would call first, despite the lack of that contact. I don't know. What do you think?
I want to I want to pressure test your statement about not sharing personal information and or just those friends being because they're your kids' friends. One, is that real friendship? I think we would have to define.
Yeah, you're getting in some gray area.
that is acquaintance level, and that is not friendship. And you're probably right. You wouldn't divulge that level of information. But also, on the same side, we're all looking. If you have young kids, you look for families to do life with. This is a thing. And if these people are going to be on your sports teams, even in the Fab Five, 3 of those guys knew each other because they were in sports teams at 5, at 6,
Right.
at 7, at 8. So your families naturally are close because your kids become. So you have to maintain some level of tolerance there. So I think my caveat to that is I don't think they're friends. I think they're acquaintances because their kids are friends. I think it could turn into something, but I think someone has to be vulnerable first.
Yeah, I would say our very best friends in this kind of adult phase of life are people we all met through our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've met a lot of people through our kids who are
of
not
course.
in any way.
I would say to the first part, which is women raising men, which is a very real,
I want to speak on that too.
very real fact. And it's because men are emotionally immature by and large.
Without a lot of practice and kind of
Because
looking in the mirror.
Because one, the friends that they have don't hold them accountable.
Yeah, opposite.
2, you can get away with a lot of bullshit with some people who don't hold you accountable, which means it's reinforcing bad behavior. And help us all if the individual who is the emotionally most least mature, doesn't make sense. The person who is the least emotionally mature is tall, like above 6 foot, has any level of athleticism, has above a 6 on a 10-point scale,
And it's maybe charming.
and has any level of gab, then all of this stuff is just going to negatively reinforce that they can find other ways to make friends, whether it's making laugh or whatever, which means people come to them to be their friend. They don't have to seek out friends. But the great equalizer is when you have kids or when you first get married, your wife or girlfriend brings you to meet their girlfriends or her best friends, and all of a sudden you have to stand on raw personality.
Yeah.
And and their conversations can go anything from current social context to politics to what they did back in the day to funny story. Like, you have to be that nimble emotionally to handle all of that. And they will press and press and press, and your gaps will become very large neon bright signs. And that is why women are frustrated in today's time, because men are not emotionally stable enough to handle some of these conversations. Probably, although I can't technically prove it, but probably because their friendships have been so immature for so long that they have never had to.
And this is right back to your question. One of your questions, the first one I think, was how we put so much on our spouses. They've got to be so frustrated with that because they have been practicing amongst their friend group a lot of open sharing.
Oh, sure.
And support. And so for the guys, we're like, wow, you're so good at supporting me. Well, of course, they're practicing it all the time in their friend groups. They're receiving and giving that support all the time. And for a lot of guys, that's the only place that they're ever getting that level of like concentrated emotional support. So it feels great. So you're just going to keep coming back to that instead of seeking out that with other people, because a lot of times we're creatures that will move towards whatever's the easiest path.
Fair. I do want to give guys, I feel like I was on the ladies' side, so I want to switch teams for a second.
Yep. Bring it home. Bring it home, Marland. Bring it back
for
hold
us. Hold on. Full pause.
Bring it back for us, Marland.
That switch team thing needs to be needs to. Anyway,
moving on. Moving right along.
Same team, just from the male perspective. When you guys were in high school or before you were married, did any of your friends have like a standard thing to do, whether it's first date wise, whether it's Valentine's Day gift wise? Did you ever share information around, hey, this is where you should go for
like
a
the
first
way you
date?
move?
No, it's just a list of tactics. It's just a list of go here for the first date, buy this for Valentine's Day. This is now trending right here. As in, it's so like we share this information. So my friends and I would share places to go to eat for like your first 5 dates. And so it became like the standard. Or we would share random ideas for Valentine's Day. And then like, hey, I did this year. Let's just all rotate and do something different. So the wives would be like, well, this is the first time I'm seeing it. This is my point. We have been so created to be very tactical in our emotional expression.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's a trip. It's a bag. It's a shoe. It's a rock. It's whatever.
There's a whole second episode about that.
Yeah. But rarely do you really find the time to understand what they would like, understand what they deserve.
Yep. Listen,
but listen all year round, so that something they said in March.
Listen and take notes.
Boom. Right? That only happens in the top 25% of married individuals because it's a different level of care.
Yeah.
And I would submit, although I don't have conclusive evidence right now, that those who are more intentional in their personal relationships with their romantic partners are probably better friends.
I think we can both agree that these friendships are worthwhile, they're meaningful, they're additive to our lives, but sometimes they fade. And I think we can both agree that we ideally don't want them to, especially the ones that we really value. Did you have a takeaway on kind of maintaining these friendships and sort of being more aware that they need maintenance?
Man, I've had so many friendships fade.
Yeah.
You have never met a non-friend or a person that you couldn't call a friend. I feel similar in that way. But there are certain people that have come into my life for a specific time that I can now recognize the pattern and would like to keep them longer, but I know there's going to be an expiration date. I know I'm tracking towards something, we're tracking towards something, and they're just not going to be able to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
ironically and unfortunately, a lot of those friends that faded happened to be religious friends because we got crossways either with our theological perspectives or they wanted to be more conservative in certain area. And so it just didn't, they made a stand and I didn't follow.
Sure.
Or I made a stand and they didn't follow. And we always have those memories, but I'm also not giving up time with other people today if they're asking to hang out. So that's an unfortunate kind of aha moment that, yeah, some people come into your life to help make you better in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think that is okay.
Or maybe you have space for them.
Yeah, you have space
moment.
for that moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to let those, to see them what they were. They were impactful in the moment, like a coach. You have your high school coach for maybe 2 years, maybe 4 years. Do you stay in touch with the coach after you're gone?
Mm.
Maybe for the first year in college, but sophomore year? Junior year? Probably not. So it's okay for people to have an impact and for you to recognize that that is where it is. Have I ever given you my thought on love levels?
No.
Okay. So this is something I tell my wife all the time.
Okay.
Which is, and it's just like friendships. If you think of your love not as an expansive orb, but more as a linear building, the more engagements and activities you create a new level. And you can build a whole new level in an instant. It doesn't require...
Like a new floor?
Like a new floor, yeah. So you're building the skyscraper, but I'm investing in the skyscrapers that I'm building. So the friendships that have faded are legitimate buildings in their own right. They have floors, they have memories, they have opportunity, but they also have a ceiling and a top or they could be left unfinished because we just could never get past a certain part of that friendship. I think it's okay to memorialize those relationships, and they could always come back every couple of years and we could reminisce about old times. We could laugh and joke, but are we going to text for the next 6 months? Probably not. And I think that's okay.
Or are you going to like move forward with
or
the
we're
dynamic?
Move forward?
Yeah.
It was beneficial in that moment and we moved on. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I've had friendships that stagnated for a period of time.
This is sound like a me problem the more we talk. But go ahead.
But I didn't want them to. But they were. And I've had friendships that stagnated where I was fine with it. And that happens a lot. It just, you kind of, like you said, you reach a natural stopping point. What I'm really interested in, though, is how do you give that space, give that opportunity? How do you not shut we're sometimes so quick to shut the door on these opportunities, like, because it's awkward. It feels uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what's happening there, so I'm done. Like, I don't want to be involved with that, whatever is going on. It's just weird. But how do you leave that space for a period of time to go by where maybe you're not growing that thing, but then down the road I have a dear friend, Koza. Cody knows Koza. Beautiful man, hilarious dude. One of the most loyal people I've ever met. Will ride or die for you. And then we just kind of lost touch because he's in the military and was off doing his thing, having 47 babies, like the strong Italian stallion that he is. But we just lost touch, and like there was a period of time where all we did was reminisce. Man, you remember he played music, and we played them shows and all those girls, and man, we used to get so drunk, and all the bullshit that we would talk about every time. That's all we talked about, same old jokes. But I love Koza, and so I kept at it, and he kept at it. And now our relationship's totally different because he's a dad and I'm a dad, and we've had cause to connect on a bunch of things like that. It's all more about like, what do you do? He never stopped bettering himself, although he didn't feel comfortable showing that to me at first.
Yeah.
And then once he did, it was like, oh shit, like we're both here at the same time. Oh, great. And now we have all this stuff to talk about. And I think that space and allowing your friends to show you that kind of authentic version of them, I think you can kind of learn to maintain the ones you want to keep, at least over time. Have you? Does that resonate with you at all?
It does, but it feels like you guys had a vulnerability moment, some type of kumbaya session where emotional expression was had.
Yeah.
And that's what flipped.
Well, we went to his wedding. So he reached out with the invite, even though we hadn't been as close.
Okay.
And Kate and I went. And it was in New Mexico. It was not an easy trip. We flew into Albuquerque and drove for 4 hours up, or 3 hours, or whatever it was, up to Chama in the middle of nowhere to this wedding. And he was just blown away that we'd done that.
That you came.
Yeah. And then after that, it was like a dam broke or something. And then we were just right there again. So
that makes sense.
In thinking of all of this, one of the things that I've been struck with is like, is there any advice that we could give or any lessons learned around maintaining these friendships or the importance of these friendships? Like, do you have anything you want to say there?
So in kind of back to the love level example, what I heard is that you guys were building a type of building and all of a sudden it changed format, it changed maybe even shape, it evolved into something new.
Yeah.
Because in his perspective, you did something that meant so much that it now opened up the availability to be more vulnerable himself. Things changed, which is kind of the point in most friendships where you have to, whether it's a wedding or whether there's a traumatic event or whether you're just struggling because groceries is high and soccer practice is hella high and clothes are even worse,
and there's not enough time to do everything that needs. One of you feels like you're doing more, and
then someone at work gives you a bad review over something that's not your fault, and all of a sudden, like, you've had enough, and you can't yell, you can't show that aggression that you would typically show with your spouse because they might not get it. They may get scared, or somebody else may get scared, or particularly for me, people would get scared.
Sure.
So who do I call? I call. And I yell and I scream and I cuss and I'm angry and I can throw things and it's fine. And but that space has been curated over tears, over emotional situations, over a lot. So this is what I've learned. And we kind of talked about earlier that when we met, I was at a point, because I don't think you know this, I was at a point where I needed someone to help get me across the finish line. I had the idea, I had the plan, but I knew my weakness was going to be in the execution for this particular multi-step process. But I didn't know I didn't know who or how I would find said individual. So we were sitting down. I remember this like it was yesterday because I had texted you that week. Define masculinity, but without using adjectives such as patience, such as protector, such as give me like a high level strategy for this. And we went back and forth for like a week. Something happened at work and I was frustrated. So I don't think I saw you for another 2 weeks. And you said, hey man, you sent me this like really good content, but you haven't responded back. And I said, there it is. To me, I said, I think I found someone that shares my love for information, that can hold me accountable, but most importantly, that could walk this journey. So in life, we call it life partners, but there are, in my opinion, rare individuals that enter into a space where you can say, yeah, they get it. Like, it's not competitive. It's not even aggressive. It is literally the exact opposite of what I think you think. Mm-hmm. So when I found that, because you said, you told me you had that all the time. I'm like, well, I've got to find this. Now that I found it, it's like I am more fully aligned because I have space to say, hey, this is not my expertise. I don't have to chat GPT this. I can just call Brett. Or Brett will call Cody will call Evan. And all of a sudden, I've developed what I was planning to develop out of a basketball league, but was never going to be in the basketball league. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I had to be open enough to follow the breadcrumbs to get to where we are. So quite frankly, I mean, if the lesson learned is if you are open enough, courageous enough, vulnerable enough to set out this crazy thought in your head to somebody else who then finds the other people in their network that believes the same way, then you can go about changing the world. And this is just my optimistic view that we are going to change the world. And that is my lesson learned.
Love it.
Roll my music.
We ain't here for the postures or the masks we wear, not the highlight reels or the half-truth shared. We talk repairs, staying when it's easier to run, showing up for the work when the honeymoon's done. Fathers, partners, friends, learning how to be, listening more than we speak, choosing honesty. No gurus, no crowns, just truth in the trying. We ain't lying, this is good man trying.